And good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cloud Chats. It is September 16th, 2021. This is episode 29, titled Acquisitions, Gaming on Linux, and a COBOL Developer. I'm your host, Mason Egger, and as you notice, we have Chris this week. Again, I can only point correctly when Matt's not here. Kim is out, and Matt is out as well, but we have a special guest today, Miguel. How's it going, Miguel?
Hi, it's going pretty good today.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Chris, how are you doing this morning?
I am good. I guess I got news from my end. I recently announced on Twitter that I am expecting a child, a baby, on the way.
Woo!
Yeah,
Awesome.
So I actually had a meeting this morning at like 6:30, which is early for me, and they were like, "You know what? It's practice for the baby." So
they're going to enjoy that a lot. I have to make sure we get all the tiny JavaScript swag ready.
a JavaScript onesie would be pretty cool.
I guarantee you it's out there somewhere. Oh, Matt's in the chat. Matt's too sick to be here today, but Matt can be in the chat to... Yes, I can point when you're not here, Matt. When you're here, you mess it up. I blame you. So let's go ahead and get started. So where's everyone? First off, we always love asking and knowing where everyone's coming from this morning. So if you're in the chat listening, go ahead and drop in the chat where you're coming from. But our hello world question today is, are you a light mode or dark mode person? And I feel like there's going to be some very sturdy lines in the sand drawn around this one. So I guess we'll start off with Chris, light mode or dark mode?
Right on. Thanks, Bert MB in the chat. Babies are fun, and also sometimes not. I'm prepped. Ooh, RPen with light mode, Sendekia with, of course, dark mode. I mean, I'm 99.9999% of the way dark mode, but every once in a while I'll switch to light, and I'm like, you know what? This is actually kind of fun. It's not bad.
I do the same thing. I started programming on light mode. Like that's what I did when I was in high school. And then I eventually got into dark mode. And I like it sometimes, but then sometimes I feel like my eyes don't like it. And they just revolt and they're like, okay, we have to go back to light mode today. So, but I think I definitely default towards the dark mode.
I mean, early on, a lot of applications didn't have dark mode, right?
Yeah, they didn't.
So by default, we were all light mode people. I remember using Visual Studio, and I forgot which version, 2010, when that came out, they introduced dark mode. I was blown away. I'm like, I can finally save my eyes at night. I do all my programming mostly at night, that's why. And I have like 3 monitors, and if I was using light mode, I'd just be blinding myself.
I've had to turn my monitors down because I also have 3 monitors, and if I have a white screen on one of them, it's so bright it messes with my camera settings. So I have to make my monitors dull. They're like at I think 10% brightness, which is not how we were intended to look at 4K screens.
No.
It almost feels like it's heresy to do that. But Matt,
Matt brings up the next logical question here. I feel like a lot of people here are like dark mode leaning. So now it's like dark mode or black mode, like just pure night mode.
I don't really like the pure black. Like I like the subtle shades of dark. Back when, like Miguel said, back when we used to have light modes or didn't even have dark mode, I still use them to this day, but I used these programs. I think it was called Flex. It was on Mac, and it would turn your screen it would help get rid of the blue light. Like it would turn your screen like this hideous shade of like yellow orange, but it really did help my eyes. Like I don't normally wear them during cloud chats, and they're somewhere on my desk. But during the day, I wear blue light glasses, and like they actually make a difference. The days that I don't wear them or I forget to wear them, I am noticeably more tired at the end of the day than I am at any other time.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of those. Go ahead, Miguel.
Oh, I can say the application was called Flux. and basically it did what you just said, and then Apple finally introduced it into natively, right, into macOS 10 and then the iPhone. I remember though having to jailbreak my iPhone to install like a Flux kind of version onto it. Then that was a long time ago, and then you slowly realize that Apple's like looking at all these like jailbreaks and moving them over to native, right?
Oh yeah, there's a big like I've seen a big article and big conversation about that, is about what happens whenever you used to have an app model that you used to sell for 99 cents and then Apple just makes it part of the OS. I think the biggest one is the flashlight. Like nobody used, like the early models didn't use your flash as a flashlight, and I remember paying like 99 cents for that, thinking that's the coolest thing on earth. And then now it's just part of, like, you can't get a phone that doesn't have that in the operating system, and that, who's paying for a flashlight app when it comes with the OS?
I have a fun aside about the built-in flashlight. I have a friend that had one of the most popular built-in flashlights, or sorry, flashlight in the App Store, like millions and millions of installs. And it hasn't, lately there have been almost no installs monthly because there's the built-in one. But the people that have it installed use it so much that the ad money coming in there monthly is close to 6 figures. Like,
what?
Wow.
Just from ads, just from an old flashlight app that nobody installs anymore. And it's like, who's
using it
stuck
that
in your
much?
ways? Yeah.
You know who's making probably a lot of money? It's people that make calculator apps for the iPad, right?
Yeah.
They don't have a built-in one, huh?
Yeah, they don't.
I still don't get that. That one boggles my mind. How can you not have a calculator app on an iPad? Like,
right?
You know what? I don't know if they do this, but shame on Texas Instruments if they don't have a TI-84 and TI-89 in an iPad.
oh, those would be great. I would love those. I've actually
That would be easy $100 app.
I used to live right down the road from their office because they're in Texas. So yeah, it was a cool thing. Okay,
Yeah,
so we have.
Sorry, I just wanted to bring in. They probably don't want to make an app because they make a lot of money from selling the technically overpriced $100, $200 now calculators, right?
Yeah, I remember as a high school kid, it's like, but I don't have monies, and they're like, $200, kid.
What's interesting, my brother yesterday was like, "Hey, do you have a calculator?" I'm like, "Let me dig through all my stuff, and I can find you one instead of having to go buy you one." Because like I have the TI-84. And that thing perfect. It still works. Like you don't need any of the new fancy features or anything.
That being said, they have a TI-84 that has Python installed now.
Really?
Yes, we covered it in a previous episode. They announced it, but it's like the entire programmable interface for the TI-84 is in Python, and it made me want to go buy a calculator.
Call me when it's JavaScript.
I will definitely do that.
I remember building like it was for chemistry class, building small little programs that would basically take in variables and do the equation for me. That was pretty fun.
On the calculator.
Yeah. I don't know what scripting language they used back in the day. But yeah, that was like that's how I got into programming as well.
I think it was like
right
8080, wasn't it? Like I thought it was. I don't know. I've never done it. I thought it was like 8080 assembly, but
yeah,
I think it was at one point.
Like the syntax was pretty simple. You had your go-to and stuff like that. It was very similar to like I guess Visual Basic, honestly.
It might have been. I have no idea. I've never looked that deep into it to see what they are. I know a couple people that got started in programming by programming calculators.
I mean, the best part was like installing video games on it, like Mario and stuff, Zelda. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move into our guest interview section. So as you can see today, we have Miguel on with us. Miguel is one of our DigitalOcean Navigators. If you're unaware of the Navigators program, it is we call it an extended DevRel program, but it's a program of all of the people who just really love DigitalOcean and do a lot of content creation and just evangelism around us within our community. It's kind of our community power users, and Miguel is one of our navigators in the inaugural class. This is the first year we've had this program, so it's super exciting to have you here, Miguel. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's actually pretty cool that I got into the Navigators because before I wasn't really into the community aspect. Just recently, basically because of the pandemic, right? I had a lot of free time, and I'm like, what is there to do? And then I started speaking a lot in Discords, programming Discords, and that got me into like just helping people, doing a little bit of code review. People started asking me about like reviewing their resumes, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. I'm like, this seems like a lot of fun, right? And something I have never done before. I mainly am a freelancer, so that's kind of how DigitalOcean fits into my career, essentially, because every freelance project I deploy is through a droplet. And then when, I guess last year when the app platform launched, that was a game changer, because basically initially I would have to like set up the droplet. I used to do a lot of Laravel development, and so I would have to set up the PHP version, set up MySQL, all in a single droplet, right? And with the release of app platform, I just point it to the Git repo and deploy it, right? And then it's all containerized. It's easier to like expand if the customer starts getting more viewers. I can expand the size of the app platform component, right? So honestly, when that came out, it completely changed everything. Where like I would spend maybe a couple of hours deploying, and now it would take less than an hour just to deploy everything, set up keys, etc. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I get to do a lot of work with startups and small companies around my area. I live in the Northwest Arkansas region, so we have Walmart here, and they're pretty good about bringing in a lot of startups here. So I tend to do a lot of contract work with them. And it's pretty fun because I get to work on a lot of diverse projects, essentially.
Very cool.
I tried working at a company for 1 or 2 years, and sticking to one project did not seem like a lot of fun, right? Especially like if you didn't want to do it. So freelancing has been like my go-to, because I get to pick a project. If I don't like it, I don't have to accept it from the client, etc. So yeah.
Sounds like you'd make a perfect dev advocate. You get to like poke around in a bunch of random places.
Yeah. So like I have a client that came to me and he's like, do you know anything about AR? And they pitched me their whole idea, and I'm like, not really, but I mean, if you want, we can try it, right? Like I'm willing to learn AR and build the product that you want. So I'm actually talking to that client and probably working with Apple's AR kit. So that's going to be a fun thing to pick up and learn, and do more of like probably Xcode with Swift, right? Haven't touched that ever, but having this one client is going to give me the opportunity, right? Getting paid to learn.
Definitely. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get started in freelancing? Because I know a lot of people, myself included, who have always been like, freelancing sounds fun. It sounds like it would be intriguing, but don't know how to start, don't know how to get that first client. So how did you get going in freelancing?
Yeah. So honestly, I've been programming since I was a kid, and I have always like quote unquote been, I guess, entrepreneurial when I was like selling like candy at school, etc. And then in high school, I started to do a lot of programming, and it honestly came down to the community I was around, right? So I had families that needed a website, so I helped them build that. I had a church that needed a website that I went to, and so that was before the whole live streaming kind of concept was available, and so I helped them set up like a WordPress website, set them up with recording their video and uploading it to the website, right? So people can view it after, so they can view the sermons, etc. So that was really fun. They had a blog. And so honestly, it came down to just kind of talking to people that your community. And then because I also build the church website, other church members talk to me and they're like, hey, I'm a lawyer. I want a landing page. Could you help me build that, right? So it kind of just went from there, where you build a few from family and friends, and honestly really connect to your community. Because as well, like because I know Spanish, I get to communicate a lot with local businesses in their native language that they want to speak, right? And I can understand from a cultural perspective of what they need more, right? So that also helped me integrate with like the Hispanic businesses here, right? That needed help with technology, do consulting, etc. So that's like the general idea of how I got into it. It really does come down to knowing people, knowing your community and what they need. And honestly, it takes one person to give you that opportunity, right? Because once you do one project, that is a portfolio that you can start showing it to other potential clients.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
We have a question in the chat, which you might have touched on, but maybe a little bit more. How did you get your first client you found without being in any way connected to you? So I assume you get, like you were talking about all your community connections, but at what point did you start just getting people that you've never heard of that started contacting you?
Yeah, so honestly, that's pretty recent, like about 5 years ago. Honestly, it came down to, I guess it would be like, how can I put it? Yeah, so basically I built something for someone, and then I usually don't like tagging my websites that I built or projects with like a link. But basically what happened is another business contacted that business owner and said, hey, who made your project? Who made your website, right? And then they were able to pass in my information to the other business owner, and then they called me, and then they said, hey, I saw that you built this project for this other business. I want something similar, right? So if you build good work and people see it, they're going to want to know who made it, right? So they're going to either contact the owner, contact somebody at that specific company and be like, hey, who made it, who did it, or etc., right? And so hopefully they pass in your information to them, and then you get a client like that. But it takes a lot of, honestly, like you won't get that right away. Because you do have to build out that portfolio. You have to build out your skill set, right? And you got to build out interesting websites, interesting projects that are unique, that are going to catch people's eyes, right?
Definitely. Yeah, that makes sense. We have another really good question in the chat, which I'm super enjoying. Basically it's about how did you manage to not undervalue yourself in the beginning so you get clients? I know a lot of people, like I started doing like freelance work in college, and I built a website for like $750, and I think I got like way undervalued on that one considering what I built. But so how do you manage that?
For eggs one time.
Really?
For
just
eggs?
A basket of eggs, not like agreed upon eggs. The website was like $500, and she paid in eggs, and it's like,
wait, did you get $500 worth of eggs?
It was a lot of eggs, yes.
Oh my god. No wonder you're so fit. You've been eating nothing but protein for the last 20 years, Chris.
Oh, and they were like the natural eggs where they're not white. They're like the brown and green ones.
Oh, the yard eggs, as we call them down here in the South.
I'm pretty sure it gave me the superpowers.
Awesome. But yeah, so how did you manage to not undervalue yourself, Miguel?
I didn't manage it.
I don't know if anybody fully manages that starting out, right?
Yeah, right. It's hard because I got in bigger contracts now where it's easier to like quote 50K, 100K, right? And you have that confidence that that's your value, right? You're bringing that $50,000 value or 100K, right?
Yeah.
But when you're beginning, honestly, you don't. I lack the confidence, put it that way, right? To be able to say no, that's a $5,000 website, WordPress website, right? Because you haven't built up the confidence. Pretty much, you have to build it up. So initially, I believe that when you start freelancing, you're always going to undervalue yourself. You're not going to know how much time it's going to take you. You don't know how to properly set up like milestones. You don't know what possible snags you'll run into, right? So honestly, just if you want to do freelancing, just do it and just learn as you go, right? Because I have undervalued contracts where I spend like an extra 50 hours unpaid, right? Because I didn't charge them double, which I should have, right? And that's just a learning experience that you end up going through. I don't think me telling you how not to do it would help you, because everybody has to go through this journey essentially, right? you have to
Yeah.
build that personal confidence to be able to be like, yes, I do value my time, even though you do like a fixed price or an hourly rate. Also depends on the area, like, or the type of client that you're dealing with, right? What industry it belongs to, etc. But yeah, you just gotta go.
Yeah.
Go through it.
I love that you said that, because a lot of the advice, especially like Twitter advice, where it's, the kind of the get rich quick kind of mentality.
Twitter advice. I love Twitter advice.
But I love that you said that it's putting in the work to not only, one, build your confidence, but two, build your skill set, right? Like, I've seen a lot of projects where, you kind of miss the nuances, like SEO type stuff, like some accessibility things, like the small things you learn per project. And that's just respecting the grind, right?
Yeah, like early on, I didn't know anything about SEO, so I didn't charge for it, and I really didn't implement it, right? And all those tiny little things that you don't think about, because when people ask me like, are you a backend developer? Are you a front end? I'm like, I'm everything, right? I'm the backend developer, front end developer, the DevOps developer. Yeah,
the AR developer.
Right, exactly. You're the quality assurance developer, right? You're everything. You're the billing person. You're the support. You're everything. And you forget to factor that in, right? Most people would jump in like, oh, I'm just charging for the code that I'm going to write. Like, no, you need to charge for all this extra stuff that you are going to end up doing to satisfy the customer as well, right? Because a customer is not going to be happy with just a website. They want a full thing, right? A full service, essentially, because you are running a business, right? And that's how businesses operate. So
I'm learning a lot from this. This is great. I'm loving this, and we keep getting in great questions from the chat. So we'll keep asking them as long as they keep coming in. Sure. So a question from Steven in the chat. What do you think is the best way to rate your clients? Do you do by hour, fixed price, or does it depend on the size of the project?
It really depends on the size of the project. Like if I'm gonna do like a feature, right? Code a feature for like a WordPress website that they already have. That's gonna be more hourly rate. Usually for like a full project, I would charge a fixed rate, but break it down into milestones and go that way. So that's like the general outline I have. But yes, it really does depend on the project, right? So like this AR project, I don't know how much I'm gonna spend on learning Swift, right? Or the AR kit. So for those kind of projects, I tend to be like, what is the budget? This is how much I can give you for that budget. And then we can go from that initial budget. And then if you want to continue, right? But honestly, there's really no set way of doing it. It really comes down to each individual project. Even now, it's still pretty difficult to put a price on each project, right? Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. It's still difficult for me now, right? I don't think you'll ever master it, right?
Yeah, the classic it depends.
Yeah, really, because you might run into a snag that you did not foresee, and now you gave them a fixed price, right? And now you're stuck working extra hours because you didn't quote it correctly.
I think one of the hardest things to gauge too is revisions, right? Like, how do you bill for and how many revisions?
Right.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so I usually give them 2 revisions, right? Up front, like free, part of the quote, etc. And then I set a price for each revision after that, right? Depending on the scope. So it can range from 500 to 1500, depending on like the scope of the revision. But that's my general pricing for that, because I also sometimes don't do the design, right? So I'm okay at designing, but sometimes I do have to like hire a designer, right, to do that part. Because I'm not. It depends really, but like basically, like if they want a design revision and I hired a designer to do that, the revision is going to be over $1,000 because I need to get a small cut for myself and then pay the designer to go and change up the design, right? But it also comes down to the scope, like how big is the out of scope that revision is, right? Like, is it just a minor tweak to the initial proposal, or is it really out of scope? It's 2 countries away, right? Like completely out of the ballpark revision, right? I guess like if we can just tag this whole discussion, it depends, right? That's the word. That's the key word. It really all depends. You'll never learn.
It depends.
You just kind of yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
there's some really great questions in chat. One that, let's go with Arpens, because I know he asked it earlier too. Where does your handle come from?
I think I saw somebody using it 8 years ago. I liked it, and then I saw that it was free everywhere else. And then I think it was part of like an anime too, so that's kind of where it came from.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I just think of that Tom Hanks thing where it's like, look at me, I'm Zamthor now.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really dig in this interview section today. Like I'm learning a lot. So
what's the most, I don't know, complex, weirdest, or something that you maybe gauged incorrectly about like timeline? What feature did you have the most trouble with? This AR is a big one, I guess.
Yeah, that one's more like, yeah. So the AR one's interesting because there's multiple stages, because and we have to be able to scan like a physical product with a drone. So that way we can scan anything, and with the drone we're able to get like data points, right? If you're doing a 3D scan, you can gather the position of the drone and tie that metadata to the picture, so you know how high it is, you know how you get the whole XYZ positioning of how the picture was taken, right? And so when the drone is going around, you get a whole positioning for each photo, and when you drop it into like a software called photo mesh, that it gathers all these images and then stitches them together to create a 3D model, right? So having that drone also include all the data and all the XYZ positioning of where it was when it took the photo, right? It's able to recreate a better 3D render when it's stitching together all the photos, right? And yeah, so like honestly, like this one I'm still working on, and I don't know how much I'm gonna quote for it, honestly. Like, because I told them, hey, I'm gonna take a couple of months to figure this out. So yeah, I don't know how long it's gonna take, because first of all, I'm learning all the technology. I'm learning a new programming language. I have already done I think it's called geometric photo editing or whatever it's called, when you're building 3D models from pictures, photogrammetry, that's what it's called. Yeah. I've done that before, but those were like stationary cameras that were like all controlled by Raspberry Pis. So I have a general understanding, but yeah, this AR project is going to be the hardest one to quote, because I don't know anything about it. Like, I don't really know any of the technologies, right? It's all going to be new to me. So if anything, honestly, it would come down to, I'm going to lose money on this project, put it that way. But one, it's going to be very fun, right? Two, it's going to allow me to take some time to gain a lot of new skills that I can use for a future project, right? So yeah, I guess that's the most difficult project right now, because everything else has honestly just been like landing pages, e-commerce sites, very basic stuff, a lot of like internal tools for like billing, etc. like integrations between CRMs for companies and their billing and their support team, right? So everything else has been pretty standard, not too difficult to create and out of scope of your basic front end, back end development. Nothing crazy with AR or any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
This is cool though, because I mean, one, it's fun, right? And two, it's the start of building that expertise like you talked about. And then, I can't imagine there's a big pool of developers that are doing AR work. So, next time somebody needs AR work, you're in that little pool now.
Yeah, like if you look at what Facebook's doing with their Oculus, right? And they just released their goggles, their Ray-Bans, right? Their collab with Ray-Bans, where I saw a video where the head of the Facebook labs was talking about how they're working towards mixed reality with Oculus, the Ray-Bans, and these are all just stepping stones to that, right? Where down the line we're gonna have just glasses, Ray-Bans that are able to display maps,
anything,
messages,
anywhere.
yeah, anything you want, right?
We're back to Google Glass.
Yeah, like
we've come full circle back to Google Glass.
Ahead of its
right.
time.
People are more. It's funny. People are more accepting of that now, right?
Yeah, it was really ahead of its time. It was such a cool tech, but the world was not ready for it.
I mean,
the tech wasn't ready for it.
You're right. But it still was cool.
Yeah.
Soon. I think everybody's working towards AR, like embedded in, Windows and all the sorts of things. I think it's only a matter of time.
Yep.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you, Miguel. This has been extremely enlightening. I've really enjoyed it. We're going to move on to our next section. Miguel's going to stick with us. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead, Chris.
There's always one more.
One more.
I just
go
want
ahead.
to call out. I want to call out, like, I love Miguel's journey into this because back in December 2020, wow, it's 21, Miguel joined up with DigitalOcean's hackathon. And Miguel won that hackathon, if I'm remembering right?
Yep.
Yeah, so Miguel won that hackathon. He joined up on the latest hackathon beyond that, like a couple months ago, and was one of the top runners in that. And it's just been fun to see, like, your journey of getting involved, putting your work out there, and then now you're a DigitalOcean Navigator. Now you're here with us on Cloud Chats. So it just goes to show, like, just put in the work and, go out and meet people and join hackathons and see where you go.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, one of the big things too is people told me, like, I have a unique perspective maybe because I come from the freelance viewpoint and how to use DigitalOcean for freelancing, right? So I'm going to be building content around that.
Because that's going to be exciting.
There's like a big gap between a boot camp or a graduate from college to working for a company, right? But there's no real content to be like, hey, here's a freelancer. These are tools that you can use to better your freelancing. Don't waste too much time on deployment, etc., right? And how to leverage tools, services to better your business, right? And make more money. And I guess we didn't get to the COBOL topic, but that's fine.
we can talk about it. We can keep, like, we can keep going. We don't have, let's talk about COBOL then. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No. So, honestly, like I said, I ended up integrating myself a lot into Discords, and yeah, one late night we were all just chatting about programming languages and how far we have come from, like Fortran and Cobalt, etc. And then I just took that day, started programming, started live streaming it, going through documentation. And then from there on, I just started learning Cobalt and why it worked that way. And then also because, again, talking about like filling up your skill set with new tools, right? There's still a lot of like fintech companies using Cobalt. There's a lot of banking.
Oh yeah.
There's like so many senior developer positions for Cobalt. Like, it's not a dead language, right? Like, it's still highly sought after, and it opened up my eyes a lot how different it is from like JavaScript, etc.
it's kind of cool, isn't it? Like it's
Yeah.
simple in its own really cool way.
Yeah, so like it's all like it's a procedural programming language, right? So and then the syntax was the most eye-opening, where like it's all English. Like you don't, a lot of the symbols that we use, they're like, why do we use symbols if we could just use words, right? I kind of liken it to like Python, where people are like, Python's so easy to read. And I'm like, no, COBOL is the easiest to read. It's all like you can literally say, I want to divide this variable by this variable, and it's going to equal this variable, right? And you literally like write it out almost. You literally write the word division, and then you set it equal to the final result, right? It's I love it, honestly. I don't have any real like project ideas to build with it, right? Feel like it's pretty limited.
I got it running on App Platform.
You did.
I did. There's a GitHub repository. I mean, it's just compiled COBOL, and it runs there's a Flask application that manages the endpoints and then execs the COBOL program. But I think we were doing all the app when we launched App Platform. We were doing a whole bunch of just goofy things. So I got Perl running in App Platform, I got COBOL, and I got Fortran running in App Platform.
That's awesome. Maybe I'll start building tools with Cobalt and make a framework or something.
Oh my! COBOL doesn't even have native networking. Like it doesn't have it.
I'll build a community around it.
I am here for it. I am here for let's make COBOL the next popular programming language.
Definitely
50-year revival.
2 movies.
Oh my goodness.
All right, I guess we can move on now.
Okay. Yeah, well, we'll go ahead and move on to our news section. For those of you that have seen the show before, this is the time where we talk about all of the cool new things that are happening in the news. Except we have funds with lasers, so whenever you hear this sound, means we're moving on to the next item. Because as you can see, sometimes we go on for a long period of time. So our first story today is one that I've been waiting for a while, and we're going to see what it does. Apple has been ruled by a court that they must allow third-party payment options. So a judge issued a permanent injunction in the Epic versus Apple case on last Friday, putting new restrictions on Apple's App Store rules, bringing months of this like Apple and Epic fight to an end. Under this order, Apple is permanently restrained and enjoined from prohibiting developers from including in their apps and their metadata buttons. Man, this reads like legalese. External blah, blah, blah. Basically, they have to allow external payment options. So currently, like in the Apple ecosystem, they are required to pay through Apple, and you have to give a portion of that money to Apple. And Apple was upset with this, I think specifically around the Fortnite game, or not Apple, Epic, around Fortnite. And they've challenged it. And I don't know. I kind of saw this one coming, but I don't know. What do y'all think?
It's interesting because they still said like you have to be able to move over, but they still said the 30% was fine, right?
I guess if people want to use the Apple thing, they're still allowed to do it, and Apple can charge them because it's like a payments as a service kind of thing. Right. But I guess if you want to do your own, I mean, I actually I recently switched from Android to iPhone, and I actually really like the Apple ecosystem now. It's just like I just pay with Apple, and it's done. It's done. Like the payment ecosystem is shush. I don't need you mocking me right now, Chris.
It's okay.
But it's
this
nice.
Is a long time coming. I had to.
I know. Well, I mean, I just came back around. I had my first smartphone was an iPhone. It was an iPhone 4. So we're just back around to that.
Yeah, I think this is a big opportunity for some payment company to say, hey, look, you want to plug us in and do it in like 10 seconds? Come on over and we'll take 10%.
I think now that people are going to have their own options, I think that Apple's going to come down in the price. They're going to have to. Otherwise, people are just go do something else. People will integrate in Stripe for way cheaper.
Yeah, all depends on usage, but we'll see where this goes. Definitely a win, I think, for like overall just
for tech.
Yeah.
Just a win for anti trust issues.
Yeah.
I don't know if I read it correctly, but I think they're not gonna you can't have like a buy directly in the app. you can have a link that takes you outside the app and do the purchase.
Okay.
I think
that might make sense.
Because that's basically what Epic did, where they just redirected them to like a payment page on the browser to pay. And that's still good, but I don't think it's a win-win, right?
Yeah.
It should be like,
I mean,
within the
definitely.
app.
Yeah, definitely not as convenient as that little Apple Pay button.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where developers will have to make the decision is the money that they fork over worth removing the convenience of their app system. So
I think this only matters to like big companies, right? Like Epic is that 30%, it's like a couple of million, maybe $1 billion, right? I think it's $1 million. Yeah.
I think you're right. If I was developing an app, I would probably stick with the Apple thing and just fork it over, because 30% on 99 cents isn't going to kill me.
Oh, and I think Apple's lowering the percentage for small developers.
Oh,
that's right.
Even
so
better.
It's like 15 now, I think.
Yeah, for 15. Basically what Steam did as well for indie developers, right?
Interesting. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, I feel like instead of like having fixed percentages, it should be based on income, right? Revenue.
Like a ladder system.
Yeah, because basically, if you think about it, you are leveraging Apple's ecosystem, right? And if you're a bigger app with more transactions, you should pay more for that access, right?
Makes sense.
For using that resource.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll definitely get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Our next story comes out of the land of gaming with the penguins.
Speaking of Steam.
Yeah.
Penguin.
Oh, yes. Because it's Linux, gaming with the penguins. These preview texts make no sense. They only make sense in my mind, and they're just for me. So so you know.
I just thought about Club Penguin.
Oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about. Way to bring back memories that I have not thought about in years, Miguel. I have not thought about Club Penguin in forever.
Yeah.
Yes, so currently 72% of the Steam's top 50 games work on Linux as of September 2021. So we're always talking about, Linux boxes and being able to play games on Linux, and it looks like they're making a good stride towards it. If you scroll down, Chris, you can see some of the games that are supported. Like Counter-Strike, PUBG. It doesn't look like... Actually, no, PUBG was no-go. It looks like Dota 2 works. GTA 5 works. Team Fortress 2. So just a lot of really cool games. Just getting closer and closer to Steam games being able to run games on Linux, which, that's what their little handheld device is, right? Like, it's Linux. Like that new Steam... The new PSP Steam version is what I call it, or whatever it is.
Steam Deck,
because I keep confusing it with Stream Deck, because we're really bad at naming. Okay.
Cool.
Next one we have is Libre Elec, which is Matrix 10.0 has released. It's a big major version. So Libre Elec is, and Matrix is the kind of the software behind Kodi. KODI. So if you've ever set up a streaming system on a Raspberry Pi in your house or something, this is one of the open source tools that helps build it, which is pretty cool. I remember having before Chromecast had been a thing for a while, but like I had an NFS mount of like all of my entire media library, and this was before I learned about tools like Plex and stuff. And I wanted a way to be able to stream my personal library. So I stood up a Raspberry Pi with Kodi and downloaded an app on my old iPhone and was able to do it. So it's pretty interesting to see they're coming to 10.0. And I think I did mine on the Raspberry Pi 1, and they're saying they don't even support Raspberry Pis 0 through 3. They only support 4 now.
Wow.
Have either of y'all ever played around with this?
Is 4 the latest?
I think the Raspberry Pi 4 is the latest, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I only played with it once, then I found out about Plex, and I'm like, that's so much better.
It is. Plex is so much better.
I have a on-RAID server, and then I'm running Plex in a container, and that's how I serve all my media. There's just more support. It's funny, there's more support for Plex on most things compared to Kodi that I found.
There is,
that are more like one-click solutions than like go into the terminal, set it up. So yeah.
Yeah, I like Plex. I like the Kodi stuff. It would be useful. It depends on what you're using it for. I could like whenever I was in college, my senior year we got a new office building for the computer science department, and they had these TV screens with like messages that would float by and stuff. Like it was basically a slideshow, and they bought Mac Minis for each of these. Wow. And I was like, you spent $1,200 for each TV to play Google Slides. It's like I could have done this for $35 in an HDMI cable, and I can imagine that like something like Kodi would probably be pretty useful in that instance because you don't really have like it would be easier to like I don't know, maybe manage more of them. But I just that's what the amount of people that buy hardware where they could have solved the problem with the Raspberry Pi is pretty funny.
The only thing I noticed, they don't. You said they probably don't support like the Raspberry Pi Mini, the
Zero, the Pi Zero,
yeah. See, that would have been perfect.
Well, because they don't have any. So, like, whenever I ran Kodi in the back in the old days, I couldn't run certain old .avi files because there was no GPU support on the Pi or through Kodi. So it couldn't do the codec. Like, it could actually play newer videos because the codecs could render them, but like they needed like on-chip codec. Like I guess conversion between these old AVI files. I was watching like first 4 seasons of The Simpsons and stuff. Like VHS rips.
Right. Yeah, I think the new Pis have the 264 native chip already on there for hardware encoding and decoding. So it's not software anymore. Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, but this would have been back in like 2012, 2013. So
the first Pi, yeah.
First Pi. It was a cool little thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, our next one comes out of the land of GitHub Actions. The check spelling action in GitHub Actions has led to a token vulnerability. So the check spelling GitHub Action community workflow is basically a spell checker for your GitHub commits. Because some of us are good at coding but bad at words. When the workflow is enabled on a given repository, it is activated whenever a pull request is made to that repo. The workflow checks the spelling according to the configuration defined by the repo and submits a pull request comment showing the details of any spelling errors. For a repo configured with this, an attacker can submit a pull request which contains a spelling error, which also has a symbolic link pointing from .github/actions/advice.txt to /proc/self/environ. That's not good. And this malicious pull request is processed by the check spelling workflow. The workflow will post a comment to the pull request, which contains the full dump of the GitHub Actions environment variables, which discloses the short-lived GitHub token API key. Oops.
I mean,
I'm of the mindset like keep the typos in the commits. Like that's what's cool about typos or commits. But this is interesting. It seems like
I'm certain that they will have worked on this and maybe even fixed it by the time, because we put these news articles together on Tuesday. It's likely they have it fixed by now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, shouldn't check spelling just be native to your editor?
But some people, some people just use like bare bones like Vim and stuff, and like it's one less plugin.
True. But what is the percentage of them users?
There's a large percentage of them, Miguel. Whenever we do our cold open is what's your editor, Vim is still pretty high up there. Even in the Python JetBrains survey, like I think over like 30% of Python users are still Vim. And this is the JetBrains survey. I think it's like a 3,000-4,000 person sample size. So It's still a pretty big number.
Small but mighty.
Yep.
Wait until they realize they can just use Vim key bindings in VS Studio or VS Code.
I found them to not be so one-to-one. Like,
yeah,
it's just like it gets you there like 80%, but it's not 100%.
Okay, everyone over here is talking about NeoVim. I don't even know what NeoVim is. So,
wow. Yeah, our pen, come on in.
Oh, here we go. There's our pen. Okay, well, our next one comes out of the land of acquisitions. and a pretty interesting one at that. Intuit, the maker of TurboTax and QuickBooks, on Monday said that they had agreed to buy the email marketing company MailChimp for $12 billion in cash and stock. That's a big number.
Big number.
This is actually a really interesting acquisition because this will be the largest ever acquisition of a privately held, bootstrapped company, as MailChimp didn't take any outside funding since its 2001 founding. It's also a huge windfall for the founders of MailChimp, who opted for profit sharing instead of stock-based compensation for employees. So this is interesting. MailChimp is one of those things that like has just been around forever. Like it's founded in 2001. That was long before I had ever even started thinking about programming. And it's just interesting. It's really interesting to see all of these larger companies buying up these older, like well-known, well-founded open source style companies.
Yeah, to me, it's an interesting play from Intuit. Like off the top of my head, it's like, do they want the user information, but they shouldn't have access to it? That's like the owners are the list owners.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious. So I mean, that's a good question. Like how are they planning on making money on this? I wonder, because I mean, think about how many emails they send. Maybe they're tired of paying for that, and the quickest, easiest way to do that was to just buy an email service company.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, there's Mailgun. There's like just the transactional email ones.
Yeah.
This seems like a further play than that. It's similar to like Twitter buying Review. Maybe there's something, I don't know.
Well, I just hope they don't shut it down, because like there's a lot of people that rely on MailChimp.
Oh, yeah.
I know Intuit is trying to like going back to the freelance kind of deal. They used to be like an enterprise kind of deal for like billing and stuff for enterprise level companies. But in the last few years, I think they're aiming more for your freelancer, smaller businesses, right? Because now they have their cloud platform. But before, you would have to buy like Intuit QuickBooks, right? And have an actual server running, and that thing headaches. Honestly,
I helped a person manage a QuickBooks instance once, and I will never do it again.
Exactly. I dislike it so much. But basically, I feel like they're going to integrate this into their cloud platform for their customers, and have them integrate better email billing, etc. For, I don't know.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
I have seen that. Like I had a small, teeny tiny startup when I was in college. We did audio recording stuff, and we used QuickBooks for like 2 months before we realized we didn't make enough money to warrant a QuickBooks subscription. It was really tiny, but you know, you're right. I've watched them slowly get better and better. And a lot of companies are starting to see the SMB market as like, there's a lot more SMBs than there are large enterprises, and it's easier sometimes. Saban in chat says, don't understand why they sell if they are profitable, because once you have some money, you always want more money.
Yep.
$12 billion. I don't know what the founder's cut of that is going to be, but it's going to be a very large section. So it's kind of like, why did Red Hat sell? Red Hat was extremely profitable. I think they sold for like, what, 34 billion to IBM, which to that day, that still was like ruined my day. Like,
and also they get access to a lot more money through Intuit, and Intuit and like has many more resources than MailChimp has. So maybe they have a level up that the founders wanted to go to, that they thought more money would help them.
Product expansion. It would be interesting. I'm hopefully optimistic, because I feel like the alternative isn't helpful. So hopefully MailChimp will be good.
Yeah, they just got to keep the logo. It's too good.
Yeah, they can't.
A few years ago, they did change their pricing model as well, and I think they got a little bit more expensive. And then I know a couple people dropped off. I found that part pretty interesting about that. And now that they got bought, does this open it up for potentially another company to come in and grab some customers that don't like Intuit or don't want that integration? Or
maybe there definitely will be churn. I'm sure they'll just run over to Twilio.
ConvertKit's always there too.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, our next story comes out of another acquisition. Woo. because there was a lot of them this week. Cape Technologies agrees to buy ExpressVPN in a $936 million deal, a little bit less than $12 billion. That will more than double the cybersecurity company's customer base and expand its tools for private web serving. Bloomberg reports Cape will pay $354 million in cash when the deal closes, and the equivalent of $237 million in shares, which will be sold. Blah 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 blah. That's not anything interesting. Yeah, so that's just how they're selling it. So this is another interesting one, just because of VPNs. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Everybody's just, I don't know. Everything consolidates to the big companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also an interest. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, it's close to. I mean, that's a lot of money, especially for a VPN.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta imagine it's for the technology and not for the user base and the monthly subscription, right? I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably for the data.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of VPN is, protect your traffic and stuff. But in reality, like, all you're doing is pushing off the protection from your ISP to the VPN provider's ISP. Who's snooping your data? And it's a little bit more randomized. But if you own the company that has the VPN, it is possible for you to still backtrack that. So,
yeah. And who do you all use? ExpressVPN is up there for me.
I use one called Windscribe. Yeah. There's nothing special about it. I like that you can only pay like $1 and for like a specific region. That's all I really need it for. I tend to not use a VPN, honestly. I don't see the need. I don't see the need for it.
I don't use one that often. And like, I use the Brave browser, so if I need to do something that I definitely don't want people like seeing, Brave has a open browser in Tor mode, which just immediately anonymous. Like, it's actually the best integration I've ever seen. Like, because so many people mess up Tor configurations. So you just open up a new browser, like there's like incognito mode and incognito mode with Tor, and then you're going through the onion router. So if I ever need that kind of anonymity, or sometimes I just test stuff to make sure it's not my IP that's being banned, I will use that. I should use a VPN. I keep telling myself I need to, but I don't. And one day I will. But
honestly, I don't see the need for it to a certain extent, right? Like from my day-to-day, like I don't think I need to hide traffic, because even if I go to websites, they grab cookies, they grab all this other stuff, right? I mean, how much are you really hiding with the VPN nowadays?
I think it's more of like whenever I'm traveling, because like developer advocates are supposed to be traveling a lot. COVID has kind of changed that. But what, eventually I'm going to be traveling to a lot of different conferences. I'm going to be in a lot of different cities, and like being on that many public Wi-Fis, I would want a VPN just for security purposes, because I don't like, you're right. If I'm at home, I trust my Wi-Fi. I have a home lab and a PFSense rack server in my network closet. Like, I know every packet that enters and leaves this household. But it's whenever I'm outside of my little fortress of solitude, that I worry about it. And then Samantha brings up the obvious reason, because we want to be able to watch Netflix in other regions. The summer I spent in Vienna, I was astounded and appalled at what they have on Netflix compared to what we have. Like, every major network television show was on, like, the latest seasons of like Big Bang Theory and Better Call Saul. They were all on Netflix in Vienna. And you come back over here and you're like, we have all these Netflix originals and 3 seasons from a show you watched in the 1980s. And I was just appalled at how much better other countries have it for Netflix. So that's
Matt
my
says
rant for
Warp
the day.
plus, what is that? DNS over H?
Yeah, DNS over HTTPS.
How are you using Warp, Matt? Are you like, do you have the client installed on your computer? So Warp, for those that don't know, is Cloudflare's.
Of course it is. It's just,
yeah, we just
Matt.
If it's networking, it's Cloudflare. Let's go.
If it's Matt, it's Cloudflare.
It's their like client that you install. You press this little button, and I don't think it's a VPN, is it?
No, it's DNS over HTTPS, I think. It's 1.1.1.1. I tried setting that up when it first came out because I tried configuring my pfSense router to do it, and I ended up messing up the settings so bad because at the time the pfSense router didn't support it, that I just never got it back around to doing it. I should do that too. There's so many things I need to do. Sometimes I'm bad about security, but okay. Yeah. And then we're going to just briefly talk about this last one. House Party is shut down. It's shutting down in October. If you are unaware of, House Party is Epic Games, like just video conferencing app. And it was pretty popular. It got a big pump at the beginning of the pandemic because everybody was stuck inside. But it looks like Epic is shutting it down, and we'll have to say goodbye to it.
It got a big pump. They got acquired from that.
Yeah, they got acquired by Epic, and now they're being shut down. So
wow, actually, never heard of it.
Their UI was really fun. It was fast. It was really good.
I think we're all a little too old for House Party, but that's just me.
Probably.
Okay, so now we're going to move into True or False, which is our lovely game that we play every week that you get the opportunity to win some Sammy stickers. So go ahead and go to kahoot.it and enter in 7096369. And if you win, you can win some Sammy stickers. And if you've won before in the past, there's better items. There are actually 10 different levels of winning this game, so you can win up to 10 times. When you win the 10th time, you get to be Chris for a day. Sounds like fun, right? And if you manage it, and if you manage it after he's had his child, you get to change diapers. I'm sure Chris will enjoy a vacation. So go ahead and join. We're going to kind of speed through VPN or our word of the week, because I'm looking at the timing and I don't think we've ever been this far behind. I'm having a great time, but oh my goodness, we are far behind today. We're already past the hour mark, Chris.
Oh yeah, I've been looking, but it's like the interview portion was so much fun at the beginning, and we're just hanging out. So
I don't push it if it doesn't need to be pushed, but we might end up having to cut like some of the stuff short, but we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. Okay, so our word of the week this week is VPN. Since Kim is not here, I will be doing it. Since we talked about ExpressVPN, what is a VPN? According to Wikipedia, a VPN, or virtual private network, extends a private network across a public network and enables users to send and receive data across shared or public networks as if their computing device were directly connected to the private network. The benefits of a VPN include increases in functionality, security, and management of the private network. It provides access to resources inaccessible on the public network and is typically used for telecommuting workers. Use it all the time. Encryption is common, although not an inherent part of a VPN connection. So that being said, we use a VPN at work, and that's how I'm able to access internal tools like Jira and Confluence. There's a really funny picture that's weird. It's a weird picture, but it's a funny meme of like this person taking and it explains the VPN. It's this person taking a drink out of a thing with a straw, and there's another straw in her mouth going out the other way, and then that kind of explains the VPN as it's a hop through. It's kind of a weird picture. I see the meme every now and then. But yeah, they're pretty neat. I mostly use my VPN for work whenever I need to get into DigitalOcean stuff, but I think our VPN for work is actually, I think it's a split tunnel. It's not even a full tunnel. So there's two types of VPNs. A split tunnel VPN allows you to access resources that are on your company's network, but they only send traffic that is designated for certain internal domains across the across the network. So if I'm on my desktop and I'm connected to the VPN and I go to google.com, that traffic does not travel through a split tunnel VPN. If, on the other hand, I'm using a full tunnel VPN, which tend to be a little bit slower, any traffic that my computer does goes through the VPN. Split tunnel is pretty common for telecommuting workers as it requires less resources, and they don't really need, like if I'm going to google.com, like who cares if it goes through the company's network first? It's just going to go outbound anyway. So Kasir asks, what is the difference between Openvpn and a normal VPN? Openvpn is just a VPN implementation. It's an open source VPN. So I don't know if there's a product called normal VPN. I've never heard of it, but Openvpn is just the name of like kind of how Ford is the name of a car, Openvpn is the name of a VPN. Anyone like my metaphors?
A little bit.
Good. Anyone have anything to add?
No, it's good.
Sweet.
Solid.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get going. And if you join in late, you can always join in. If people are doing bad, you still have a chance to win. But we're going to go ahead and start today with our network protocol edition of True or False. We're talking about network protocols. So, true or false, is TCP considered stateless transmission?
I think we got to drop the overlay for word.
You're right. But luckily it shows up on their phone too. We really can't do this without you, Matt. Okay, this is what happens when two people click it at the same time. This is false. TCP is not considered stateless. That would be UDP. TCP is stateful transmission. It creates an established connection and maintains state of its connection. UDP would be considered stateless, as it just basically throws packets at the door. And if you drop the packet, you drop the packet. Next question. We can also talk during this part too. So, Telnet runs across port 25. And now we're getting in with my fun gifts.
Huh.
Is Telnet across port 25?
I mean, I know SSH is port 22.
Seasoned DevOps and sysadmin people will definitely be yelling that no, Telnet is not across port 25. Telnet runs across port 23. SMTP runs across port 25. If you've ever had the misfortune of having to configure an SMTP server, you will run into this at some point. Okay, so it looks like Smiling Glider and Dynamic Hawk and Dynamic Panther are neck and neck, but Hero Bear and Polite Octopus are coming up. Also to note that it's not just about the right answer, it's about speed. So the quicker you are also factors in, which is why if you really want to pay attention, look at it on your phone and wait for the question to come up. Don't wait on me because of stream delay. That's a pro tip if you really want to win them stickers. NTP, or the Network Time Protocol, runs on port 123. And I ran out of network gifts, so now you have to deal with gifts of ducks. So
now we get to deal with gifts.
Yes,
of ducks.
now you get to have gifts of ducks. I've really enjoyed using animal gifts because it makes the game more fun and cute. This is true. The NTP protocol, or Network Time Protocol, runs across port 123.
Finally got one right.
Sometimes they're easy. Sometimes I go in random, or like last week we did Git. The week before that we did what are the groups of animals called? Like, is it a herd of cats? No, it's a clouder. Like, it just depends on my mood for the week whenever I write these. And networking was on my mind. DNS uses TCP by default. Sure. Does DNS use TCP by default? You sound upset, Miguel.
I took like one networking course and completely forgot everything.
This is false. DNS is UDP by default, but it fails back to TCP whenever it is not working. So it's mostly because DNS packets are so small, and that DNS servers have to reply so quickly it's so small and there's so much load that creating an established connection doesn't really make that much of a difference. So using UDP makes it more efficient, and then if it fails, it goes back. So yes, some people say DNS can use both. That's why I said by default. If you just installed OpenDNS or LibreDNS, what would it use by default? It would be UDP. And yes, Andrew Mulkey says there's a 6-second delay. We know there's a stream delay. That's why we have it where it shows up on your phone so you can still get it, and then you have to listen to it. It's the best we can do with modern technology. So Dynamic Hawk still going, but Polite Octopus, Dynamic Panther, we're coming up. Next question. HTTP runs on port 80. Does HTTP run on port 80?
Finally an easy one.
Yeah, there. Okay, and everyone got that one. That one didn't even get through the time. Yes, HTTP runs on port 80. See, sometimes I throw softballs. So that was one that I wanted to test your speed to see who was going to get the speed one first. Question 6. Ports 0 through 1023 are reserved for the system. Are ports 0 through 1023 reserved for the system?
I think the duck is telling me it's false.
Listen to the duck. The duck will not lead you astray. This is true. They are reserved. Now, that's why if you ever needed to, let's say, like run something on one of those ports, you have to have sudo access. You have to be able to tell root, hey, I want to run it on this port. Just listen to me. Oh, Dynamic Hawk still in the lead. We'll see if we can trip him up. Ports 49152 through 65,000 through the end, basically, are user or registered ports. Are the ports starting at roughly 49,000 to the end registered ports?
Steven, that's a good point.
Oh, he says VPN is 3 words. Okay. Nah. This is false. The ports that are reserved or registered ports or user ports is ports 1024 through 49151. Those are user or registered ports. There are a lot of, yes, sometimes I get that technical, Miguel. There's a lot of them that are used by some actually funny things. You should go look at the port reserve map. It's actually pretty funny. The ports above that which is what the ports you typically would see like Kubernetes or something using. These are dynamic or ephemeral ports. These are open for anyone to use. They're not considered reserved, and nobody has like claim over those ports for port conflict. So yes, this is false. And yes, sometimes our word of the week is an acronym, Stephen. We do that a lot because let's be honest, we could call it acronym of the week because there's a lot of acronyms in tech that nobody understands. Next question. Port 1984 is reserved for the Big Brother software.
There's no way.
Port 1984 is reserved for the Big Brother software.
There's a chance, though.
Think about your audience. Think about who developers are. Do they have that kind of humor?
Yeah.
This is actually true. Big Brother, alias BB, was a tool for systems and network monitoring generally used by system administrators. It was initially released in 1996, and it was created as a funny nod to Orwell's 1984. As I was scrolling through the list, looking at all these, I was laughing, and I was like, that's hilarious. Polite Octopus coming up. Dynamic Hawk, you're still going though. Next one. 9 out of 10. TCP port 1 is assigned to a historic protocol called TCP MUX. That should be question 10. So I'm wondering if I messed up. And sometimes I don't copy and paste them properly, and I end up with this. So we'll see what question 10 is. This is true. The TCP port service multiplexer, TCP MUX, is a little used internet protocol defined in RFC 1078. The specification describes a multiplexing system that may be accessed within a network protocol to contact any one of a number of available TCP services of a host on a single well-known port number. The specification was deprecated in 2016 by RFC 7805 for technical reasons and lack of use in the internet. This was mostly a do you know what's on TCP port 1 question. And are you just going to blindly put false? I was saying trolls. It's not a word. Oh, but it looks like Polite Octopus pulls into the lead. This last question is going to determine it, and we're going to see what I did wrong. Okay, I didn't copy him right, so can you remove a file from a Git commit? This is last week's question 10. If you were paying attention, you already know this. Can you remove a file from a Git commit?
It's a nice curveball to end it on.
It was. This is what happens whenever I don't always pay that much attention. This is true. Git rm -- cached file name, and then you amend the commit, and you can remove a commit if you accidentally have put something there once you have done it. Now, it will change, obviously, the commit hash but the commit message can remain the same, which is what we're going for because the hash has always changed. But if you do a git commit and you add and you git commit, you can easily remove that file and change it and make it before it goes in. So little curveball there at the end because I can't copy and paste properly. Smiling Glider with 7 out of 10. Dynamic Hawk with 8 out of 10, but it looks like with another 8 out of 10, it looks like Polite Octopus came in at the level at the last second to last one came in and wins. So if you are the Polite Octopus, please email me, mason@digitalocean.com, with a screenshot of your screen and your mailing address, all of it, including your postal code, so I can send you some stickers. And if you've won before, let me know. And that means you've bumped up to the next level of prizes, which are pretty fun. So that is all we have today for true or false. And I can't believe I messed that one up and because what I do is I write these in a document so I can write out the explanations and everything, and then I copy and paste them into Kahoot. And I always double check, and sometimes I don't move the slide down and I replace my own stuff. The question that was supposed to be there was, and we'll see who knows this one. Tell me in the chat. The Docker REST API ports are 2375 and 2376? Would y'all have known that one? What the Docker ports are?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, that was true. 2375 and 2376 are indeed the Docker ports. So now that we're done with that, let's see if that's the wrong sound clip. Let's go ahead here with Miguel and our lightning tutorial. If you still want to do one, if we're a little bit low on time, but I'm totally down if you still want to do it.
I mean, it'll be super quick, a minute.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. We're waiting on you.
Like, I'm sure everybody's done it. Let's see if this works. Screen share. Is my Mac gonna let me screen share? No. I have to restart my browser.
Oh no.
It's always at the worst times it asks.
We can skip it.
Okay, we can skip it. We're obviously going to have you back again another day, so we'll have you do it next time. We'll move into our last segment of the day. What's on your mind? This is the fun little section where we just go around the room and just talk about anything and everything. It can be tech related, but it doesn't have to be. And since Matt's not here, we'll make Chris go first. Chris, what's on your mind?
Ooh.
Did I make a mistake in making Chris go first?
No. There's stuff in there. I just got to pick something out. So I've been working with Nuxt a little bit recently.
Okay. What is that?
So again, naming problems. So on the React side of things, there's React, and then they have a framework called Next, which does a great job at creating static sites. Pretty much gives you a little bit of more magic on top of React. On the Vue side of things, they have the similar framework, but they called it Nuxt.
That just sounds petty.
I don't know who came first, actually, but so there's Nuxt, and then actually on Node side, they have Nest.
Yeah.
But
wow, okay.
Yeah, so I've been working with Nuxt. I'm usually traditionally a Next. Denero says Next was first. Traditionally, I'm a Next React dev, but I mean, jumped over to Vue and Nuxt. Recently.
Yeah, there we go.
And I enjoy. I think their developer experience is really nice over there. They do a lot with their CLI, and I'm just getting tripped up on their ESLint rules. It's just a little different, like single quotes versus double quotes. It's like trailing commas. So now my Nuxt project just has errors all over the place, but it's not even errors. It's just syntax.
It's just linting. It's just
linting.
Yeah.
I use Nuxt a lot. I like it.
You're gonna have to send me your prettier config.
Probably. The only thing I've been waiting for Nuxt 3 to come out, honestly. That's been in the pipeline for a while.
What's the big moves on? Are they current Nuxt on or Vue 3?
No, that's why. So Nuxt 3 is going to be having Vue 3 support. So Nuxt 2 is still Vue 2. That's why everybody's honestly waiting for it. Like we all want to upgrade to Vue 3, honestly. It's such a minor feature. So like in your Nux components, you have to have divs, right?
Mhm.
Wrapping inside your template.
No,
So you can't have like
anymore?
two. Yeah, you don't have a parent div anymore in Vue 3. It's such a small little thing, but I'm like, I want that.
Yeah, I get caught with that on the React side of things too. That like one parent.
Yeah. I've been working on Blazor, the C# framework for single page applications. Actually, that's kind of what I was gonna showcase, how to deploy a Blazor Docker image essentially on the DigitalOcean platform. Yeah, that's what I've been working on, and I'm hoping to upload some videos that I made today, because I didn't have internet for half the day yesterday. Like after 1, the internet was gone till like 12.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah. I was hoping to have them up by today. I'm basically like a day behind everything. Yeah. But no, I've been loving Blazor. If you guys ever get the chance to try it out, it's pretty cool. You can have like JavaScript interpolation, so you can have C# code interact with JavaScript functions, and vice versa. And then you can compile it all to WebAssembly.
WebAssembly.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's Chris's new favorite word.
Yeah,
come on down.
You can I think so. You can compile the C# runtime into WebAssembly, so you can do your entire like front end application in C# and it just runs it. It's pretty cool. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's super cool. That's one thing I really need to mess around with coming up soon, but so exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Miguel, what's on your mind?
Oh, I guess that was it.
Okay, I mean, you can do more, or we can go on to me. It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not much. I'm hoping to, like I said, release some Blazor videos today. And if anybody's watching, I'm trying to be like a community leader, essentially, because I got the opportunity to teach a boot camp. So so it's called nwacoders.com. If anybody wants to join our Discord, we've been getting a lot of really cool speakers. I know you know James, Chris, so we had him speak to our group, and we're hoping to get a bunch of local developers to do speaking. So we got a couple from JB Hunt, which is a local company in my area, and then I'm gonna be doing a lot of like workshops for freelancing kind of concepts, right? So a lot of the people in the Discord are interested in freelancing. They just don't know where to start. So whoever wants help from me or anybody in that community, join. We'll be happy to have you. Yeah.
What's it called again?
It was again nwacoders.com.
Yep, that's the landing page. And the other cool thing is the landing page is open source. So we would love if people are willing to come in and contribute some code to it. So yeah,
it says we have
and I'm going to paste the link to that. Yep.
John Cooperman will be speaking the 29th at NWA Coders this month.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Or I don't know who that is.
Sounds cool.
I just nod and read from the agenda. So
right, there's too many people to keep track of, right?
Oh my goodness, I'm not even. I'm not even a JavaScript or front end developer. I do mostly infrastructure stuff and DevOps and backend and Python stuff. And
yeah, that'll be good. John's a developer over at Cloudflare. Yep, RPan's got it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. That will definitely probably be interesting. Cloudflare engineers are always super interesting to hear speak.
And then we're recording all of them and putting on the website. So we have James's video up there as well, which is cool. And then
James
we're also
Q quick.
Yep. And then we're taking cliff notes. So if you don't want to watch the video, you can just go through the quick summary. So that's fun. But yeah, that's kind of what is on my mind. Yep.
Awesome. Well, I am going on PTO. And I will not be here next week, and that's obviously on my mind. So I'm taking about a week and a half off. I'll be back for the show on the 30th, but I literally like get home the night before and I show up to Cloud Chat. So I'm going to be in the role of, I'm just going to sit around and watch. I'm not going to be leading it. Kim will be leading it, or Chris, or whoever wants to. So that'll be exciting for me. But I'm just excited to go on vacation. It's been chaotic at work lately. You know, we're getting Hacktoberfest out the door, and then like I'm doing a lot of work with the Navigators, which is the program Miguel's a part of. And I'm looking forward to a nice, well-deserved break, even though I don't know if I'm going to get one because I'm going on a road trip to Portland from Texas.
Is that like 30 hours?
It's a lot. Yeah, it's like 30 something hours. It'll take a couple days. I'm going to be swinging through Vegas to see Chris. Unfortunately, not on a Thursday, so we can't do a Cloud Chats together. But I will be swinging through to come see Chris, which will be fun. It'll be the first time I've seen Chris since February of 2020. It's like right before. Were you in the office in February of 20? I was there for like a meeting. I thought it might have been 19. Who knows? It would have either been. I've only been to the office twice. My first week, and then that time in February of 2020, right before the pandemic got to America. Like it was like the week before I left, and they shut down New York.
That's right. Actually, yeah,
that was a crazy time. Yeah, and I think I only said like 4 words. I was like, "Hi, Chris." When he wasn't even on my town. We weren't on the same team yet. Like you were still doing all the Scotch integrations and stuff. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to that. And then there's a TikTok that's stuck in my head, which is basically Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell singing that "I Can Be Brown" song, where they sing like the different things and do the different harmonies. But like Will Ferrell comes in the middle of the way and is like singing like this really high, like falsetto soprano. And I know they're working on a movie together that's coming out in 2022, and I'm super excited for that. But now I'm just walking around my house humming this 6-part harmony that's stuck in my head that will not leave. And I can blame TikTok for that.
Oh man, so. I recently got addicted to TikTok. It's terrible.
Join the club. I think Chris and I are there too.
The scary part is like, it started recommending people I know, like a lot of like content creators that started doing TikTok developers. I'm like, how do you know I know them? Like,
at this point, it's like I'm not even surprised that all these things are just recommended to me.
Mm-hmm. But they literally are like, you know this person. Like they even have like a special badge that says, "Hey, you should follow them. You know them." I'm like, I know them, but I'm not gonna follow them because you're telling me to.
Like, how do you know I know them?
Exactly. Like I don't want to confirm that data point essentially, right? Because if I hit follow, then whatever way they did to make that connection, they can confirm that's a valid connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, you know
AI
what? I'm not
keeps learning.
I'm not gonna feed the algorithm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all we have for what's on your mind this week. So we're going to wrap it up with our upcoming events and then our joke of the day. So we don't really have, let me check the calendar. It's like I'm out. Kim will be back. Chris will be here. Let's check the virtual events calendar. Oh, Chris, you have something. We have 2 tech talks next week. So there's a tech talk on core web vitals, do's and don'ts. That is not being done by one of us, so I don't know who is doing that. If this is wrong backstage, please let me know. And it looks like Chris is doing a getting started with React tech talk next week. Chris, what's that going to be about?
No, that was yesterday.
I'm a week behind. I have to click forward. That's what happens. Next week, it looks like Kim is doing a tech talk. Practical Kubernetes networking. How to use Kubernetes services to expose your app. So Kim is doing it. I was a week behind. If those tech talks that I mentioned sounded interesting, they're on the YouTube channel. Go check them out. Nice save, Mason. Nice save.
Nice save, Mason.
Yeah. So next week, Practical Kubernetes monitoring with Kim. That'll be really fun. Back for Cloud Chats. I will not be here, but Kim, Chris, and hopefully Matt will be feeling better by then, and they will be back. And that's all I have for upcoming events. Oh, Kim live streams on Tuesdays. Chris, is next week your live streaming week?
I'm actually PTO next week.
Oh yeah,
towards the
you
end of
are.
the week.
Yeah, you are, because you're leaving Vegas right as I'm coming into, like, we'll
Right
have
as
a brief
well, I
overlap.
think we're
Yeah.
both leaving Vegas at the same time.
Okay.
But yes.
Awesome. Well, that is what we have for our upcoming events. And finally, the last thing of the day, as always, it's my joke of the day. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. What is the computer's favorite snack?
Microchips.
Oh, he got it.
Bites.
He got it. It's microchips. First person in 29 episodes that has gotten
That's
the
talent.
joke. That is talent. Have you heard that one before, Miguel, or were you just no? Okay,
it's pretty simple.
Miguel's like, it just made sense.
Next time I come on, next time he comes on the show, I have to have a much better joke ready.
Honestly, when I was saying it, I'm like, there's no way. It was too obvious.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry that I'm too obvious, Miguel, but okay, well, that's all the time we have this week. Miguel, thank you for joining us. Where can we find you? Where can people go if they want to learn more about you? Do shameless plug time.
Yeah, so I'm going to be working on stuff, but if you go to Zamtor.com, I have all my links there. On Twitter. Oh, actually, I messed up on my Twitter handle. It has a Z. The original Zamtor is taken. I gotta talk to Jack, get him to give me that Twitter handle. But no, if you go to Zamtor.com, you'll have all my social links. Hopefully I'll get my YouTube thing going today, if everything with my internet goes well. So yeah.
Is it XZAMTHOR?
THORZ. Yeah.
Oh, XAMTHORZ.
And is the YouTube Zamtor or NWA Coders?
So, NWA Coders is just the community. I'm still debating on the name. Thinking of like Daily Git.
Okay.
Not sure. I'll decide by the end of the day today. But if anything, the landing page Zamtor.com has all the links, or will have every link. So cool.
Solid.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for attending, and we'll look forward to having you again on sometime in the future.
Yeah, awesome. It's been great. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we'll see everyone next time.
Bye, everybody.